Zlurpcast!
Welcome to Conversion Therapy. I'm your host, Jonny P. Biran is here. He went through the program last week. He now will not buy action figures. We've converted him. He buys hot toys now. They're like man dolls. They're $300, but we converted him. That's what you come here for. This is where conversions happen. We have Xtreme. We have Valdric as well. We are the players of this game. And when we talk about miniature games, conversions, modeling, chopping off a finger. Whoops, I fucked up. Nope, happy accident. Put some blood on it. Now it's a wound, battle damage. That is the topic of today's show. Before we get any further, make sure to give a thumbs up and like this one. Leave a comment if you like us. Subscribe, tell your friends. Join the Zlurp Nation. A lot of cool content coming in the new year for that. Contests as well. We recently gave away Xtreme's collection of Dracula's America's books. We gave away something before that. I forgot what it was. I will have a t-shirt up for grabs soon. So we want to give stuff away to people who follow whatever bullshit we come up with. And that is Zlurpcast TV. Before we delve into everything, show of hands. We're in a visual medium now. We couldn't do that on the old podcast. Show of hands. Everyone's like, what? Audio, idiots. Show of hands here. Who here enjoys converting models? Okay. We've never agreed on anything, all four. Ever. So that's kind of.
I think it's a matter of degrees. How much do you enjoy doing it?
Expand on that for me, Biran. What are your limits?
Well, initially, when I first got into the hobby, it would be helmet swaps, things like that. And then sometimes I do it because a figure is no longer available, so I have to make my own. And that was kind of a fun challenge of what kits do I need to buy to create this monstrosity. But I wouldn't want to do it for an entire army. It's a lot of work.
So when someone says, I'm doing a blank army, like here's my concept, it's a theme. All the heads are blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, okay. Like you know what you signed up for. Because instead of now just doing one guy or even a kill team, which that's kind of a cool concept, like we mentioned in our kill team episode. By the way, I know how to Pachow now. It's all the way up there. I'm far from it, but I got to remember now where it's at. So on our kill team episode, I'm doing this, see myself do this in the video. You can find that one. You say, oh, I want a guy doing this, a guy doing this, one guy doing this, one guy holding his gun like this. You can get away with some modest conversions on a kill team, but a whole army, that can get out of hand real quick. You know, you might be the funny guy in your group. I'm going to have Lego heads.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, man.
My Little Pony Dreadnought.
Yeah, well, you're playing Imperial Guard, so get fucking ready. 250 models minimum. Get ready. I would rather not do that, especially on those armies. You know, for orcs, a horde army that I have, I might have a few that I added some stuff on, but for the most part, no, they're going to be pretty much stock because they're going to be dying in chunks, and I think that's okay. You're not going to see the one I'm talking about anyway. Now, the weird boy or the war boss, yeah, he's going to have a ponytail or whatever. I'm going to do that on him because why not? Give him a different kind of gun.
Ponytail or a top knot? The orcs like their top knots.
Fun fact, the reason why my war boss has a ponytail, and it's timely because of Cobra Kai, he is based off of Terry Quicksilver from Karate Kid 3, masked the silver tooth, and he'll have a silver tooth. He's got a ponytail. So I got a few conversions in there that will match something I'm looking to do. But for the most part, 99% of the army, I built stock. Outside of vehicles, you know, when it comes to converting vehicles, you can kind of have a little more fun with it, especially orky vehicles. But for the most part, you guys find converting like Biran out of necessity or for funsies?
For the big guys, like you said, the heroes, the monsters and things like that. Yeah, I do that for funsies. But
yeah,
but you know, when you're looking at your models and you're like, you know, these 5 orcs all look the same. You know, they're you think that's going to be a big deal because you're looking at just those 5. When you're playing the game, who gives a shit,
It's funny you mentioned that. So you know how you can buy that, like, whatever that orc mini kit is that has like 4 in it?
Yeah.
And it's $10. So I used to say, I would never get that. I want it. Meanwhile, like, I saw a bunch on sale one day, bought a bunch, several boxes. When they're all mixed in and the green tide comes rolling in and there's 200 orcs, I don't care that 35 of them are whatever. They're just one of many. But like you said, Mike, if you're looking at just those, it's going to think, oh man, it's going to be a problem.
It's like when you play a modern sports video game and it pans to the crowd and you see that they did a little copy paste a little bit, but in the heat of the game, it's fine. It's when you do instant replay and zoom in that you'll notice.
Like, wait a minute.
Never do.
This guy's sign always says "Go Team."
Go Team, and he's got khakis and a jersey on, and so does the guy 4 seats away from him.
Right. His jersey says "Home Team" on it. Like, it's not even a fucking team called Home Team. Great point. I think you think something's a bigger deal than it really is. And then on the converting side, I think it's also, for me, when you look at Games Workshop, and over time, they kind of have this weird moment of the old-timey models that we grew up with and got started with. Then they got better and more multi-pose, add more character. But now they've completely gone to there's a bunch of instructions, a bunch of bits, but just so you know, when you're done with this 106-piece monstrosity, it's going to look probably the same as your friend who got the same model. So sometimes I'll convert those and figure creative ways to do it that I'm not going to go nuts doing, because I know that after all that work, it's going to look the same as your guy. So sometimes a head swap is all you need. I remember there's a Space Marine guy I did where, I don't normally use Space Wolf heads on regular guys, but one guy can't have a fucked up weird beard. Yeah, he can. One guy can. The whole army's not going to have goofy beards, but one guy can have a weird beard because why not? And that alone, I don't even have to do anything else. I could try, but the more complex, we'll say, the model is, the tougher it is to pull off a good conversion. Have you guys found that over time, that you either hope for the best and whatever it is, or you just don't set your sights too high when converting those new complex models?
What I find with I actually like the mono pose models. I think they look way more cinematic, but like you said, your model's going to look the same as your friends. Yeah. I find that the couple I have done, I did one with, what's his name? The chapter master for the Ultramarines. Calgar.
Yeah.
I want to make him into my chapter master for the Salamanders. What I found you have to do is completely build the model per spec. And then you could go and cut into it. Because if you try to do it when it's on the sprue, you don't even know how that shit's going to fit together.
Yeah.
No, it's very difficult because you think, I'm pretty sure this is his arm, the main arm I'm going to change. Meanwhile, you didn't realize that it was the arm to here because that other leg piece has the rest of the arm.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of have to at least get to the point where
you know what's what. Yeah.
Right. Where at whatever piece you want to cut off or change, that piece is totally done. Maybe his head's not done or whatever, but you do have to build it. I don't think I've ever converted one of those newish, what you want to call them, those newish kind of models where it looks like a jigsaw puzzle before you start because you don't know what's what.
Right.
I've never converted anything on those from the get-go. I've always had to do something.
Yeah.
A feet or legs, something before I realize where I got to cut, where I got to sand, where I got to green stuff, because you just have no idea. Have you guys done it? Like Xtreme, have you done that with these new models at all?
No, it's one of the reasons I don't like the newer models is because it's more difficult to convert them and do your own things with them.
Yeah. I think I was talking with, there's a guy I got some Marvel figures from. His big thing is he doesn't like building stock models of the Marvel Crisis Protocol. He wants to convert every one. So I said, hey,
that's a tough line to do it on, man.
It is, and he used to work for Games Workshop, so he's got some history with stuff. But he was almost disappointed when I said, "Can you make mine stock?" He's like, "Oh." He's like, "You're paying." I'm like, "I know." He's like, "What do you think about having Spider-Man hanging down?" I'm like, I just want kind of I don't know. I just want. He can do it though. He did he did Toxin off of Venom, which looks great. But some people, I don't know if it's different for different people. I think for Biran, maybe you and I, it's out of either necessity or out of want to be different. But I think some people, just from much like people that paint well, you want to challenge yourself. Xtreme, is that for you converting? Is it less about I want to be different and more about I want to challenge myself?
No, it's more, I'd say it's more about not wanting to be like anyone else.
Okay.
To have mine stand out and be unique. But I do limit that, I think, like you mentioned, to skirmish games or individual characters. I would never try to take on like a full army. That would be crazy.
I mean, unless you were, there's ways you can do it. There's a lot of companies that make 3D printed stuff or third-party stuff. So I want all my orcs to have Cromlech orc heads. Okay. No offense, you're not really a converter. I know you want to have this.
I don't know. It's so much fun though. Just that plug and play. Like when we were doing 30K.
Yeah.
And we spent way too much money on Forge Roll bullshit.
Shoulder
Those
pads.
guys, shoulder pads, and I did helmets.
Yeah.
And I bought enough where I'm using them in regular stuff. That was one of the cool things.
Don't get me wrong. It is a lot of fun, and it makes your army so unique on the battlefield. But to say my whole army is a conversion by me.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But it's still fun.
No, a guy in Sweden made a model of a mold, and you bought a bunch of those heads.
Right.
That's happened, but it's still cool. Don't get me wrong. But a true conversion usually is one of a kind. I mean,
it reminds me of Thomas Kincaid, Painter of Light. And let me explain that. You remember the malls? They had all those Thomas Kincaid Painter of Lights that old white ladies love to buy and spend extraordinary amounts of money thinking it was an original. It wasn't. It was a print that some slave went in and put some real paint on, and then they sold it for $800.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. I like to buy a GW model kit and then spend too much on helmets and shoulder pads.
So you can tell people.
I'm the Thomas Kincaid of modeling.
But you want to be able to tell people how much you spent.
Right. I like to show my receipt.
Yeah. Like, you see that model there? That was a GW store exclusive in 07. I paid $350 on eBay for one guy. And then you expect people to go, "Oh man, you're cool."
I go, and I'm using him as a sergeant, not even as
right. They're not saying you're cool. They're saying you're a fool.
Yes.
Or you spent that much on a model and you only wanted the right arm, so you just cut the right arm off.
And then you put it in your bits box, the rest of it, and then you end up going through a phase and just throwing all that shit out anyway.
Right. Yeah. I think I remember buying the new Noise Marine model and trying to make my own version of that guy because I didn't want him as is. And by the time I got done with it, and that's like 3-4 trips to the drawing board, now the guitar is in an orc's hands. It's no longer a Noise Marine. It is now a Goth rocker because I fucked up beyond recognition every other piece of that model. It was a $35 model.
Yeah.
Now I have the guitar. And by the way, the guitar sort of fucked up because I carved the hand out and the hand was on the fretboard, and that's kind of fucked up. So I got to make sure the new hand of the orc goes on the same spot that I already fucked up. And it sucked because I had such high hopes for what I wanted to do with that model. It never happened. With your conversions, do you try to go for that 2-for-1 ever? Like Biran mentioned Bitsbox. Here's an example to get some thoughts rolling. What was the one, Biran, you sent me the other day? Was it Darth Vader head on
Iron Man body?
Iron Man's body. So you bought Darth Vader from Legion, which is probably a $25 model.
Yep.
And you bought Iron Man, which you can't even buy by himself.
Get it by the starter.
Box set only or eBay for $20-25. And you said, wouldn't it be cool if I did this? And you had Iron Man doing this, propelling off the ground Vader's head. Did he then do Iron Man's head on Vader, or was there no counterpart?
My guess is he's intending to do that, but he'll never get around to it.
Do you think he might just like kind of go down the line. So like you have all your Star Wars models in a line and all your Marvel models in a line. And then it's like shifted all over one. So now it's that instead of Iron Man body, or instead of Vader body, Iron Man head, it's now Captain America head on Vader body, like, because he's already shifted it. Because
It's like those little kid books where you could shift the heads and the torsos around.
He's probably thinking a 1-to-1, that's for hacks. You know what I mean? I'm not a fucking hack at this. I'm an artist. So maybe he shifted it. And now, because I'd like to see the rest. And by the way, I'm sure he did a great job for what he was going for. He's a great painter. I don't like it. I'm allowed to not.
It looks horrible. Yeah.
I don't like mixing worlds, you know, independent George, relationship George. You know what I mean? I don't like mixing worlds there. But that's what he's going for, and it's his army. And if he likes it, that's all that matters. Now, also his choice to put it on the internet. And when he goes on the internet, you're going to get made fun of, and somebody will make porn out of it. Those are the two rules. You know, one of those, both might happen. So for you guys, any conversions you can recall, you thought of, that you tried going for that? Well, I really want the head for this, but I want the body for this.
Well, I did one. Here, I'll show you.
Bonus.
This is your base Glot kid, okay? And he's a unique
your bog standard is the Brits.
Bog standard. Okay, it's bog standard in the sense that the body is put together correctly.
What is that model called?
What?
What is a Blumpkin?
Glotkin.
Oh, I thought it was a Blumpkin. That's blowjob on the toilet.
Exactly.
Glotkin.
But I got this from Todd. Somebody brought it in. It was missing the two guys on the top. So these are Blight King and this right here is a Plague Bearer with this is the Plague Caster, the thing he's spraying out. So that's coming off of his finger. So, but again, this is a unique character. So you theoretically can only have one. However, I really wanted to convert it. So I made this guy. So this is the head off of a Great Unclean one. And that's one of the nice things about the new kits is that gives you like 3 head models.
Yeah.
So your bits box, like back when everything was metal, your bits box had 20 things in it. And that's
right.
it.
Your bit box, your bit box was backpacks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So Mike, real quick, great point about when you buy bigger models now, they're like $100 kits. So a lot of people are like, well, I want to be able to magnetize and have this and it's like, some people want to do that. I usually will not. Yeah. However, the advantage that because people look at it as a disadvantage. I got this wasted sprue. It's not a fucking wasted sprue.
No.
You have another Great Unclean one head, you know, whether any of those kits or the Giant had multiple, all of them have multiple heads, and you could make something cool out of it.
Yeah. So I took like, you know, he's got like this right here, this one right here is still a Great Unclean one arm because it was normally the little spoo shooter here. So, and then I just made this. This is another Great Unclean. I took the tentacle off and made a tail out of it. So it's clearly the same model, but they're different enough that
I wouldn't even say clearly the same model. Unless you put them next to each other, no point would I ever say it's pretty much that model. Like you did so much extra on there that it gave it its own
that's
identity.
the great thing about Nurgle too, is you could get away with a lot.
Yeah, you can get away with, and it really wasn't that bad. I mean, the tail I just put a little green stuff, wrong side, a little green stuff right here and kind of whatever. And
now, Mike, when you decide to put a tail on, you've given up all storage capability on that model, correct?
Well, yeah, yeah. Well,
the tail goes on, he doesn't fit in anything anymore. He's now shoebox.
Shoebox filled with wadded up paper and stuff.
You're going to try your best to make that coffin a nice resting place for that model, but at some point something will happen. But at least it's plastic.
Magnets on the bottom, and I just got a big tub, and I can put them all in there.
Oh, that's nice. That's sweet. Yeah, I think. Mike, do you find that bigger things are easier for you to convert in a way where it gives it its own identity?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because here's another one. I was using big ones. So like this is your bog standard grade unclean one. And there's a real famous picture where he's holding a sword like that. So I basically I had to flip the sword and do some green stuff with the hand. And this here is from the Skaven.
Launcher, plague launcher,
Yeah.
something.
So he's my, he's I put him on a bigger base. I don't know why, but it's still recognizable. They have the same weapons and everything. It's just, it gives it a little, if you're going to have,
I was going to say they have the same guts, but literally they don't have the same guts.
no, yeah. Cause those are bits. So you can, they give you
like,
options, which
like,
is nice because it allows you to, it's built in so you don't have to be a great modeler to get a little bit of variety if you're going to have multiple big things like that. So,
in fact, when I buy a discounted TV and the guy says it has Sony guts, and I'm like, okay, I don't know.
They all come out of the same factory.
Right, Sony guts. I don't think it has Sony guts. It's like Sony guts. I think I agree with you, Mike, on the bigger things, especially bigger plastics. Back in the day, sure, it was a little tough. I remember having when GW first made big Greater Demons. They used to be all small.
Yeah.
They were great for Blood Bowl. That was about it. But when they made big Greater Demons, I bought the Lord of Change, and I wanted to make him like his staff, whatever way he was, like either was holding this, or I wanted the opposite. Yeah, and I wanted him like shooting it, and it was just, metal. We don't know what we're doing. It was a mess. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but it makes it easier to achieve the desired results because it's plastic and big enough where you can get the green stuff in there, cover up your holes, and then do some smoothing out, add some stuff in there the way you want it. So,
for sure.
It's a good example. Any of you guys have any examples you want to show off? I have some I'll hold unless Xtreme or Biran has any.
I don't have anything handy.
In Xtreme, you don't own any models anymore, so that's out.
They all got shipped to Mike, right? In a giant box.
What do you got?
That was all reading material. So,
yeah, I got an Xbox too. Not like the kids have Xbox, but an Xtreme box. And I got a wrestling ring in there for Rumble Slam. I got some really cool terrain. Some good stuff I'm going through.
Oh, yeah.
Link in the description below to sign up for the Xtreme subscription service.
Yeah, basically it is
great.
You get what you get. That looks good.
Oh yeah.
How much is that your work?
This is a McDonald's toy. The whole back half of it was hollow, so all the back is my stuff.
Wow, good for you. Is that for Arcadia Quest you're using it for?
I just wanted it as like a project. I thought it was cool.
You have to know that we're going to ask you, but what are you using it for?
Right.
Nice.
So this was a troll body, the Cthulhu head, obviously, and I think
is that a rat troll body? A rat ogre body?
I think it was a cave troll. Is it
okay?
UB cave troll.
Oh, is that it's a mantic cave troll, right?
No, it's an impact
No?
chibi cave troll.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That's all I have handy.
How come those didn't make the X crates?
Because they don't. I mean, what are you going to use them for? What are you going to play for?
It's my dreadnought for my Space Marines.
Good point. Whatever you say he's not to be used for. You say, I'll give them to you, but you can't use it for this. That's what I'm using them for. No, those look good, though. And I would say even more so, we've made a joke before, not a joke, but we've made things in the past about when you paint something, you become more attached, but when you convert something, even more so. I remember, Mike, you might remember this, because you might have ended up with the piece. Well, I probably destroyed it anyway, but I think it was from Jay Ryan. He made a Gorgon out of like a Minotaur head and all that.
You still have it. When I bought those from you, you made a point of saying that did not come with it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, ooh, I like that. I would like that.
like you could have the picture frame, but I'm going to keep the photo of the family at Walmart that came in there. That's mine. I'm keeping that. You get the frame. So that one, it was a cool conversion, but I didn't like how he did the back legs because I think he swapped the giant legs around. So it looked like you were walking on like backwards robot legs. So I actually cut it off like above the knee, cut it off below the knee, and then just went, and then green stuff fur around it. Now I made it more stocky, but to me, that's actually what it looked a little top heavy the other way. But that was, for me, I took a conversion from somebody else that he got rid of. And I'm like, I like it. I like it. Wayne's World. I like what you did there. I like what you did there, but I want to do this. And so even more so, a conversion of a conversion. And my thought there was, hey, the original model's already fucked up. It's over. Like, I don't have to worry about fucking things up again because now it's like already on the operating table. I can cut it up even more so. Do you guys find that, maybe a model you may not, I don't want to say you don't care about, but you're almost willing to try different things with it for a certain reason? And if so, like, what is the reason? Xtreme, maybe your reason is it's not really for me. It's for my own enjoyment, so have at it.
No, I tend to spend way too much money on conversions and chop up expensive models, and hopefully I get to the finish line, but there's a lot of like half-finished projects I never got to. Like I bought a $100 privateer press model and I was going to chop the hell out of it and just make this big display piece out of it, and never quite got all the way there. I got like halfway, and when I moved I ended up just throwing it away.
Was that model going to be like a dead body, like all cut up, or was that you're going to use bits for different things?
No, it was just going to be, I was going to convert that model into a model that doesn't exist for a painting competition.
I was thinking, could you imagine with the cost of some, especially Games Workshop, but even some of those, imagine buying one just to like put on a base as dead. Like,
I want to buy a Forge World Titan and use it just for a cinematic base.
Right. I was thinking, I'm going to get
one Space Marine.
I want to get a Tau Manta.
Yes.
Fucking rip it in half. So that way on the ground, bloody, I have all the Tau that are all strapped in, waiting to die. They're all sitting there waiting to die, basically. I want that to be terrain.
And then just have one Cadian trooper on top of it.
Right. One, you cut through all of them.
Yeah.
So $1,000 terrain piece, not bad. Not bad. And because
it's easier to paint a bloodbath of Tau than to paint individual Tau.
Well, yeah, and then I won't be mad that, like, man, this wing is like this and this wing's like this because Forge World.
It crashed.
For $1,000.
Yes.
It's crashed. It's supposed to be broken. I'll take it. I love it. So I think, do you guys find that, when it comes to terrain, I know it's not really a conversion because terrain is terrain, but in a sense it is. If you don't build it by the box and you do your own thing, that's considered converting as well, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, also a lot of the newer GW models have the terrain is part of the model now, which makes it a little difficult sometimes. I tend to like, I start the first model, I'll put a lot of little extra accoutrement on the terrain, but then I'm like, I got to paint that.
Yeah. The more you do, the more work it is for you.
It's like you build your first Imp Guard guy and he's got a backpack and a comm and a holster and a knife. And then by the next one, it's just the minimum.
Right. Because it's like being at a job and maybe you're kind of new there and you want to impress people. So you bring up all these things processes it's only going to be more work for you.
Yeah.
Just be quiet and do your thing. And this is the same thing. You think it's going to be a great idea adding all that stuff on there, but it's going to be more to paint, more things that could break off. I want to have like fucking tentacle coming out. Okay.
Good tip over.
It's going to get fucked up in your first game, but okay.
It's not going to fit in your foam.
Right. Biran, you mentioned something that drove crazy with a lot of Games Workshop terrain kits. Well, not even terrain, just kits in general. I hate when the feet are molded on a base.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that so much because I don't know what I want to do with that base. I might want to put them on a flat, put them on something else, to know that either I got to find some new shoes somewhere else, or he's going to be stumpy and he's going to get no feet. Or
you're going to bury him in paste to make it look like he's in mud.
Right. There's an undead guy for I guess for Age of Sigmar now. It was for Warhammer Fantasy. It was like a Lich Lord or whatever, and he's got with the crown. His feet are all in the base, and so he got all fucked up because I tried to cut the feet off, almost cut my fingers off trying to get the feet off. Meanwhile, it's like I'm gonna probably put him behind like some rocks, and no one's gonna know except me that he's got little fucking nub toes going into that rock because I fucked up the feet. Because Games Workshop ultimately fucked up the feet by putting the feet in the base. I hate that so much. And I get what they were trying to do, but like, why? Put the feet on a tiny little piece on the sprue if you need to, but to mold it in a base is like the worst thing ever. Have you guys encountered that kind of stuff, the stuff you're working on?
Old Mantic models have the, they have the round circular base.
Oh, those are the worst.
And, multi-basing is great, but it's hard to do with them stuck on there. And the dwarves with their capes, the cape dwarves are the worst.
Well, also, there's no good way to fill that gap between the disc and the base. So you're always going to have that little ring around there, unless you want to fill in each and every one.
You can send a friendly email to Ironheart Artisans, have you make something for you.
Yeah.
However, ultimately, you should go to the source. It sucks that the bases were molded on to begin with.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore, but
they don't. I'm going to give Mantis some credit. Sometimes we shit on them, but I'm going to give him credit here. They had all these bases they made that had the circle in them. And so over time, they're like, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to put no base built in. And everyone's like, well, what about the circle? Hey, geniuses.
Flip it over.
Flip it over.
Flip it the fuck over.
And that little hole that's in there is great for a magnet. So
for magnets, and unlike GW bases, which are beveled, there's only one way. You don't put them upside down. Yeah. But Mantic are straight flat. So theoretically, it's like, it was actually a good move. It was a total accident. There's no question that was an accident. But it was like, oh shit, flip it over.
Yeah.
Hey. And everyone's happy.
That was almost as genius as when they wrote their Dreadball rulebook and didn't show any of the models on bases.
They're still
almost as genius as coming out with Kings of War 2 right when Fantasy dies. And it's like money falling in your lap. Shit. Like, what do I do? I should probably go and, put this somewhere. Like, no, it's money. It's yours. Take it. You just happen to be there. Fell in your lap. I love that. So they've got definitely the Ronnie the Bard's luck has been upon them. Xtreme, you were going to say something?
Yeah, the Shadespire dwarves, I think, had their feet like on big rocks and stuff on their bases, and that drove me crazy.
So are those the ones I got from you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should
have painted Fire Slayers?
Yeah. I was hoping you paint them first, but you told me they weren't. I said, fine. The stuff that I'm getting for pennies on the dollar, fine. I'm okay with those because the bases are okay. I don't prefer it though.
Well, and also they're playing pieces in Shadespire. Yeah. Think of them as playing pieces, not as.
But to somebody who, it's a fair point though. I don't want to be a hypocrite and say to somebody who is using those models for some other purpose, there's somebody else out there that is not happy with those as much as I am happy with those.
Well, and they do go as far as to make rules for them for Age of Sigmar. They still do that for all the warbands, right?
Well,
they did initially.
Xtreme's favorite party game, Blood Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
People buy models off different lines and want to use it for Blood Bowl. There's no way they want rocks on the base. You want right for Blood Bowl. The few Blood Bowl players that are still part of this show and part of the viewing community. You want to put them on a base and not have to, not have all that extra accoutrement.
Even with the Shadespire stuff, I want my warband to look different than everybody else's. Like, why are all dwarves standing on rocks? Like, let me do my own basing and make
That's
it look
pretty
different.
Racist when you think about it.
All look the same. Yeah. There was a website, alllooksame.com. I don't know if it's still on, but I was trying to find out who looked the same. Xtreme, do you hate that on the cards? I know you don't really play, but on the cards, on the top right, they show a picture of that model. Like they're literally telling you, this is the model, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You will do what we say.
I don't like that because it does make me feel like I can't convert it. Like it has to be that way because that is how it is on the COD.
On the COD, CHAD. They did it for Warcry too, and that was a bigger problem because for Warcry, I didn't have the undead models that they wanted me to use. Remember, we talked about in our Warcry episode. Way up there for me, way up there. I'm doing this for a while, so I can see it when I skim across and find where to put it. On the Warcry episode, we talked about using all kinds of different models because, they give you the stats. They put it on there, and I didn't like it because I don't have those undead models. I have these undead models, and I had to remember what's what. And now, it doesn't really matter because for the most part, you're either dudes with 2 weapons or dudes with weapon and shield, but whatever. They still do that on those. And it's a little bit of it's like a problem we see happening. I wonder if that's going to continue into like 40K or something one day where you get a card and there's your captain. Biran, your salamander captain. That's what he looks like. He has scales on his cape. And you're like, no, my guy's got these 2 giant fists.
Yeah. That's totally what I did with the Calgar. It's like,
Right.
oh, this is my chapter master for the salamanders. Well, he should have. Shut up. This is what he looks like.
Right, exactly. I think you might see that eventually. They're going that way because
Standardization.
the models are build them as we tell you to. Don't, you want the cool looking model, you got to follow the rules to get there.
Or like your captain has to have his helmet off and you're playing salamanders. I'm going to be like,
Gotta hold his helmet right here. And like,
flash color.
Well, you can't handle that?
I haven't tried yet.
Wildwood contrast paint? Give it a try.
Well, actually, with salamanders, I was thinking of the black because darker is better for them.
Oh, like black.
Yeah. Well, what you would call it, the contrast paint.
Yeah, Black Templar. Yeah.
Black Templar. I think that might actually work.
Give it a try. I'm sure the audience would love to see you never do that, but talk about it for a while. I saw something the other day. It was someone posted in I forgot which side of Warhammer it was on, but a group it was pictures of old White Dwarf magazines. And someone said, does anyone know who the artist was at GW who painted up these? It was like a bunch of fantasy armies, actually. And so they were trying to kick around names because that was back when some people had some, it would put someone's name with who did it.
When they would actually get credit for the work they did. Yeah.
But someone asked why. The stuff now looks so much better. And the other guy goes, you got to remember, like, you know how daunting it is to be new into this hobby and open up a White Dwarf or go to GW's website, which, by the way, I'm going to give them credit. They do put regular people's stuff on their website, too. That's cool. Yeah. But to see the level of painting and sometimes converting and the great model, like, it's almost like, come on, like, you got to give me something to work with. You got to give me something that I could do with a few steps. And you don't see that too often. You might see it in like hey, here's what this guy did in like the last couple pages. He wanted to do his own army, his own thing, or Blanchitsu, John Blanche style, whatever. But for the most part, no. None of that shit you see on those pages are you ever going to do. So better get over it and find a way to be happy yourself. But I kind of saw that guy's point. I didn't get why he was asking it first. I thought he just wanted to goof on the guy. Like, he still does Goblin Green on the basis. I thought he wanted to goof on him. But it was actually because it was we should be showing off those kind of paint jobs and like something you can really do. And these kits now, you don't always get that because you get to a certain point where it's built as is. Mm-hmm. And you might be able to head swap it when it's done, but it's kind of as is. Do you like the idea of maybe more realism and, seeing real people's work helps?
They did that when they would do like a series of escalation battles with 4 of the people that worked at the magazine, and not all of them were super, super great painters.
Yeah.
And it looked cool. It was cool. Each month they'd have to add so many points, but they're also doing it quickly. So you weren't seeing the photo spread of a new army release. You were seeing something more realistic.
And, when you're hearing from the guy himself or girl who did that, you're like, oh, here's my mindset on this. It actually is a lot more of a connection there than the people that are at this level. Because, I see what you were going for. They all have this. or they're all doing this. They all, oh, you added the bayonets on all the guns. Okay, we could all do that.
Mm-hmm.
None of that stuff. So I like that too. When you can tell it's, it's not somebody new, but it's not like Golden Demon winner either.
Part of,
Not-
I think go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think I saw that same post you did, and because people were like, it was the Chaos Marauder Cavalry.
Horsemen.
Yeah, the Horsemen, and they were like, because it was a little bit more basic paint job, and they talked about how they did that for a while because it made you feel like you could do that, as opposed to I'll never do this, so I don't even want to buy it. And that made sense.
And then after that, they went to you could easily do this in these 25 steps.
Here's the colors you're going to need. It's 6 pages of colors.
Or you only have 4 colors, and they go from step 2 to step 3, and it's like, no, that you've got many steps in there that you.
Yeah, they show like, here's the model, and they show them painting one line, and then it cuts, and it's done. You're like, what?
And I go, wait, how many steps?
Bloop.
I'll brush it on.
Oh,
But-
no,
I'm no scrub, because I know the true dip is no good. But the brush on, that brush is fucked, but the brush on's great. Yeah, Mike, that was the post. And, I kind of see why miniature company, their marketing teams and what, I see why you want to put your best foot forward. You want to have the best of the best. So here's an example. We talk about Mantic versus GW sometimes, and how they want to play with the big boys, but then sometimes like, well, we're small too. So what they do, to their credit, this is what they do, they get some really good painters to paint their stuff. When you open up the new Dreadball rulebook, those look pretty damn good. I could never do that. They look really good. Now, I could get closer to that with Games Workshop models than I can with Mantic models. Like, I don't know if it's the way they're designed or whatever. I can get closer to the quality I want, but all companies put the best shit out there, because nobody wants to be known as, we're the company that puts bad paint jobs. So I think that the groups and the community are helping on this one.
I think the ideal setting would be to have like your big professional, beautiful model on your packaging, and then in your magazines and your online content, mix in some more realistic level stuff too.
Yeah, you say, here's what we're showing off, and then you see, oh, you know what? I bet I can do that version. And then the caption says, my 6-year-old son did this.
You're like, oh.
Shit.
And
It's
he's
probably-
special needs.
Yeah, he's gonna get the young blood this year. I'm like, oh, I've been trying to get that for 36 years. Trying.
I like looking at those old, like I have a couple like old ass Warhammer miniature, the hardcovers that they would release.
Yeah.
And you see like that, the hard black outline, kind of a cell shaded look. I think it's sometimes fun to look at that stuff anyway.
Oh yeah.
Mike, you were gonna
Just like,
say something?
you look at the Golden Demon from like '98, and they're like, that would make the first cut nowadays.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't.
But they're
Still better
good.
than I can do though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. They look great, but you're right. It's, I think back to what the best painters ever did back when I got into all this stuff, and it's just, yeah, nowhere near what it is now. Which, like I said, it's kind of like these false. This topic is on conversions, not so much painting, but that's part of it too. When you open up a White Dwarf and you see, here's first place, I'm like, where the fuck did you get that wall from? You made that wall. Like, there's like a fucking wall with like plants and shit on it. Like, that's not the guy. You're supposed to win for the guy, not the wall behind the guy.
Faces
But
and faces.
That's what it takes. Would you guys say, and I'm Xtreme more than anyone else here, would you say that any serious painting competition, you need to have a good converting acumen as well as your painting?
To some extent, it definitely helps. It's going to put you ahead of someone that doesn't do any converting. But
I think
yeah,
there should be almost like stock cars. Like, here's the kit, you will all paint. You will not make
Yeah.
any changes. This is a pure painting competition.
Already
Well,
assembled. Here you go.
Right.
that's one of the reasons I really like the speed painting contest,
Yeah.
is because it was everyone has the same model, same amount of time, same tools, same paints. Let's see what you can do.
Well,
was just gonna say that, yeah.
I think Todd at Grognard Games in Rose, Illinois, by the way, was it his idea for that Slambo contest, or was that GW thing?
I think it was his idea to sell more Slambo models.
Okay, so
It worked.
Yeah, it
Games
did.
Workshop comes out with it was a reprint, for lack of a better term, of an old timey model.
It
And it
was like a
looked-
reimagining because it was not quite the same. It was a little more
Okay.
advanced, but yeah.
It was a reimagine. It's like if you rebooted a bad movie, but you also made a bad movie.
Right.
It's still bad, but has better special effects. Like
Right.
the guy's arms were still like here. Like, why aren't the arms here? Why are the arms here? But it looked way better. So he said, buy this model. It's like $30 or whatever. That's your entrance fee. And if you finish it, and I'm probably spacing on the details, but you can correct. If you finish it and enter it, you get what you paid back in store credit. So it didn't cost you anything, and you get entered to win something. The idea there is genius for many reasons, because of the, bringing people back in, you're selling more models, you're showing. But at its core, it's what we were just talking about. There wasn't going to be any Slambo on a fucking, on a boulder. That's not happening. And I don't know if he put that in the rules. I hope he did. But I think most people got the RAI and not the rules as written on that one. Right. Because the rules as intended was, as is, motherfuckers. Open it up, put it together, paint it up, done. Not, well, what if we...
I took Slambo and I mounted him on a Titan.
Right, yeah. It's now Slambo with wings. Like, no, they didn't have wings. So that was pretty cool. I'd like to see more of that. I don't know. That might be on a local basis only, but when you guys noticed, I'm going to bring up Adepticon because that's, independent, not owned by a company. When they did painting contests, how did that look? Was that, for the most part, best painter wins, or was it best overall artiste, including unrealistic conversions?
All the stuff I saw was converted to the gills.
Yeah, a lot of the best painters in the world are going to spend a ton of time converting too. So it kind of blends together. Like they'll spend as much time converting their models as painting them. But
yeah, it's.
I would like to see a stock like, hey everyone, this is the model you're going to build and paint.
Or have two.
Right.
Two entries of. I know Golden Demon, or no, maybe it's Adepticon. Don't they have like a wild card, like essentially that you can enter, and it's whatever? I thought they so I could enter a giant fucking skull. You could enter a snotling, whatever. I think the rest should be stock, in my opinion, like as built as indicated. But that you can do whatever you want because that is no rules. But because otherwise, the best painter doesn't always win. The best painter, I like converting. I don't like painting. There's people that are the opposite, that love painting and are good at painting, but don't have the same level of skill with their hands. Why should they not get their due on a painting competition?
I think they should always have a stock. But, well, Crystal Brush, which is not around anymore, I don't think. That went away.
Oh, no?
Yeah.
They
moved. It's still around. It's just not at Adepticon.
Yeah.
They got the Golden Demon.
Oh, Adepticon is Golden Demon now?
Yep.
Wow.
But they
they
have so many different categories. Maybe they do have something that's just, hey, stock, no conversion.
But you have to be very, very specific with that too, because there's a store locally that had you buy this blister, you paint it, you can only use the stuff in this blister. Well, one guy cut up the plastic from the blister and used that to make his wings or something. I was like, well, he only used what was given to him that he purchased in the blister.
Did it look good?
Yeah, it did.
I think a previous episode I talked about a Cub Scout project, and my older Dean helped me with my older brother. We used the bag that came with a Jules bag. That wasn't part of it, was it? Everything in the bag. Is the bag in itself? I don't know. Mike, does A equal A? I fucking think it does. Last time I checked. So the bag became the base of the tank we built. No one else had a fucking tank. I did. Cheating, ingenuity, all of those things. Extreme.
Cub Scout projects are known for pure cheating because it's the dads and the older brothers doing all the work.
And isn't that part of it?
It's bonding bike. Get out of my way. I'll finish this myself.
Xtreme. How many projects have you helped Alex with? A bunch, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah. You say, hey, part of that A is mine. No, the A is his. He won.
I did make a Dr. Seuss hat for Dr. Seuss Day that I became very attached to, and I was upset that it didn't win. I wanted to go to the school and be like, what the hell? This paper mache hat
That
won
Alex
over when I
clearly
did
made by himself.
Yeah, you're like, show me what won. And they're going to say, sir, we know you did this. Do you want to have this conversation here?
We gave it to the blind kid because we felt bad for him.
Right, yeah. So I totally get that on there. For Mike, mostly, so you run a painting contest for Chaos Cup, the Chaotic brush.
Yeah,
Right?
brush, yeah.
Do you give any kind of, when judging, any kind of bonus points to heavily converted teams?
Well, back when we had full-time judges, people that, that actually can judge painting well.
Like you were paying them? Were you
No,
paying them?
but like Michael Bell has judged, and Don Roach, who's an artist professionally. And I was always the third judge, and I'll be perfectly honest, I felt so underskilled because they're talking about all these things, and I was like, this looks pretty.
No,
And,
that's why you got to have three. It's kind of like, if someone's watching a movie, you have two film reviewers, then you have the guy that likes the fart jokes because it has to appeal to him too. You're the fart joke guy.
Yeah.
That's why. It needs to look good for you too. Like, no, did you notice the way they had the light on him? You're like, did you guys see they put a mushroom under his foot? Like, yeah, we saw that too. That's pretty cool. You got to be, so Mike, don't sell yourself short. There has to be that guy in the triumvirate of judges.
I was mostly the tiebreaker, but the problem with that was, it takes time to judge all this painting, and you might be playing a game, and you don't want to feel pressured while you're playing your game to finish your game so you can adequately judge the painting. So we got lazy and then just had people vote. So
yeah, okay.
And as I'm sure we'll talk about in a future episode, I know Xtreme has some views on that, and I agree with them. So
with painting or with paint judging,
with
allowing people to vote on anything,
letting the masses judge a painting thing contest.
I think we will. Yeah, make sure to add that to the list.
We'll hold off on that one.
Yeah, because there's a lot that goes into tournament running and paint judging, all that kind of stuff. So on a personal level, would any of you walk by? So Blood Bowl's a great example because we went from stock teams in the old days to I don't know what the fuck I'm going to see out there. There might be guys with like what are those? Like, oh, those are little traffic cones as heads. Okay, all right. Now, maybe a third, we'll say, of a tournament might be GW stock teams now because that's what you get. If you were judging a team, are you going to almost dismiss those stock teams at this point?
It depends on what the category is.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Best appearance. Best appearance.
Best appearance would include converting them.
Yeah.
But I mean, you personally though, are you like, man, I just saw that human team? No.
No, but it might be a step down from an equally painted converted team.
Okay. So if two great painters show up that are both have won many awards in the past, it's going to behoove them to not have a stock team in your eyes, no matter what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the rules, but most of it, it's like you said, it's best appearance, and conversion's part of that appearance. So it's not.
Yeah, there's so much bias that goes into it, because I happen to think the new teams look really good overall. But how many disgruntled Blood Bowl coaches hate Games Workshop and thus hate what they've produced? And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to vote for that. Or the other side, hey, isn't that Xtreme's team? He didn't invite me to lunch.
I didn't win an XCon trophy.
Right. We'll save that one, but like for the other episode. But that does happen though. I guess my point is it happens all the time. I think in the first Dead Zone tournament we've ever had at Adepticon, I think Coach won painting, and he's
half the stuff we didn't even use in the fight.
Right. And like no knock on him by any means, but I think he came with like a cave that had lights in it or something.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a big display base.
Yeah, and it's like, and no, whatever. But I have a feeling, based on the rest of the ones that are out there to decide on, the rest of the selection, it's like, well, this guy had a cave. Fuck it, yeah, I get a cave because none of us. We just showed up with our stock Mantic gangs, and mine was average painted, not great. Not, garbage, average. I didn't expect to win, nor should I have won. But it's like, well, I have a feeling for him that was the boost. Without the conversion, I don't think he would have won. So that made a big difference. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I think sometimes it really does make a difference.
Well, and also when they add models that they didn't actually play with.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
A bigger army is going to be more impressive, but if you're only using a third of the ones that you have on your display,
I would say, Mike, I do not like the fact that you let people bring a different team for Blood Bowl than what they paint. I don't like it. It's like, play with them. Well, this is my award-winning team. Motherfucker, you be miserable as the rest of us out there with that team. I want you all 6 games, and I get why, because you want to leave it out. But hey, man, like if this is your entry, this is your entry for everything. You don't. So
if you want to leave it out, have them paint 2 of them then.
Well,
yeah,
I made that rule so you can hate me.
Yeah.
Oh well, I do. I mean, I don't. I hate you for
that. You can hate me too. I don't.
No, hold on. You can hate the person who took over. If you're a lawmaker and you're like, hey, I didn't make the law. Yeah, but you didn't change it for the better.
Still enforcing it.
Yeah, still enforcing it. But Xtreme, why'd you do it?
Because it was the beginning of what I hoped would go down to like a series of events later on, building towards a pure painting contest, not necessarily who had the best stuff on the table.
Okay. Are you sure it's not because you wanted to play with the 40 miners, but you thought your Chaos Pack team looked better?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So going back to what you were saying before, though, before you skipped ahead 3 more subjects, I couldn't get in there.
That's how my brain.
If there are no rules that you can't have a display base and you want to win best painted, bring a freaking display base.
Yeah.
So there was a best squad contest at the Games Workshop store locally. So I brought this Sisters of Battle squad.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the best painted there, but I had a display base and no one else did. So guess who won?
The one that didn't have the display base? I remember the only...
Hold on a second. So you're saying you won because you had the whole, a bigger enchilada, if you will.
Yeah. It's not the first time I've done that. I did that with Blood Bowl teams too. I'd like have a whole display, and that's going to put me a step above everybody else.
So you have no moral compass at all.
Yeah. Right.
Winning is winning. So
yeah,
I played within the rules.
An award-winning painter is an award-winning painter.
I think Xtreme says a W is a W. A win is a win. Any means necessary. If you know, hey, that judge's favorite color is blue. It is, isn't it?
This army looks better. I'm going to bump into it and make it fall off the table.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
If someone comes and looks at that trophy later on, they're not going to know what to do that. All they're going to see is the trophy. Best painted. Oh, good job.
Anyone who's there knows. If I was there, like, hey, don't listen to him. He's the motherfucker who pushed the table and knocked the guy over. Like, that guy? Yeah. Oh, my God. And you're like, as you're shining the trophy up, did someone say something? Oh, I thought I heard something. Okay, fair enough, Xtreme. Display bases. So you're saying almost like dress for the job you want, not for the job you have.
I mean,
you say, it doesn't say you can't, so why not go overboard?
Right. When we did the chaotic brush rules, we had sizes that you had to keep your base within. I think we originally just used the dugout size, so you couldn't go too crazy. You couldn't bring like a whole pitch for your team, but you were limited in what you could have.
Did your rules say that you have to have actually painted the team you're submitting?
It did.
Because some don't.
How do you prove it?
You don't.
Well, if you see me bring a golden demon, you're like, you didn't fucking paint that.
No, not you, Biran, but
Right.
let's say you're a new kid in town. You show up in Indianapolis, okay? No one knows you. You're like, what's up, fellow coaches? And everyone's like, hey, new guy. Like, whoa, new guy. You're a good painter. You're like, thanks. I'm trying to be modest. Is this where you enter? Is this where you do this? They don't know you bought it and drove down there just for the purpose of that. Can't be proven. Xtreme, would you speak up because you know him?
If I knew that he didn't paint it?
Yeah.
I think I'd probably have a private conversation with whoever was judging it. Be like, hey, I don't think this guy painted this.
But what if the rules didn't say that? Because a lot of times it doesn't, just says best painted.
Well, those are bad rules. But if the rules didn't say that, then I have nothing to complain about.
What if he's your friend?
I'd still complain, though, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you still complain a little bit?
That's also a rules as intended.
Right.
Yeah, it's...
But you have to say that nowadays, because...
I think here's the problem, though. Tournament gamers, maybe not so much Blood Bowl, because it's I mean, you sometimes still might get some painting points in a game, but it's not really a thing. It's kind of its own thing. But think about to the heyday of 40K tournaments, and your army appearance is just as important as winning, is just as important as the composition. A little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, all equal parts. I mean, somebody's going to buy a tournament-ready army if that's their goal for it. Now, if they enter it into a painting-only competition, yeah, they're an asshole, for that. But they're going to do it for the normal tournament score. So a lot of people probably figure, well, why not? It's okay in one and not another. Well, that's an altogether soft score. This is a painting prowess competition. But I don't know. I guess cheaters are going to cheat no matter what, right? So.
If your painting is good enough, it shouldn't matter. Like, do you care about the Mona Lisa, what the frame looks like?
Wait, what? What does that mean?
Well, I'm just saying it's...
are you saying if you built the frame?
Yeah.
I don't understand the
if you modded the frame with your bits box.
Okay, so if the frame of the Mona Lisa is built by bolters?
Yes.
Okay. I'm still going to not... Because I know you're the one who showed up with it. Even though your name's not on there, I'm like... There's only one asshole who'd show up with a fucking painting as an army. That guy.
That used to bug me in like some of the judgment tournaments because the tiebreaker
was painted.
Are all your models painted? And it doesn't say painted by you. It just says painted. So
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, that would
But thankfully at Adepticon it didn't matter because Tony crumped everybody.
Hold on. So Mike, that's not a painting contest, though. So why is that bad if someone showed up with painted that they didn't paint?
I don't know. It just bugs me a little bit that because somebody bought or had someone else paint the models for them that they're getting an edge. It's because the rule exists. The intent of the rule was to get you to paint your models because judgment models are big and that's the part of the appeal.
I just think that it shouldn't be in there. The rules shouldn't be there to begin with. I think it's terrible, in my opinion, to ever put painting with gamesmanship. Like they should be completely separate at all times. Because if the Adepticon rules, you got to have something painted, you got something painted. But I mean, from a edge standpoint, giving you bonuses,
especially the first tiebreaker.
Yeah, the first tiebreaker. It shouldn't have anything to do.
You could lose to somebody, but if you have the same record and your models are painted, you would So
that's a rough one because Adepticon is supposed to be painted only anyway.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't say it's 3-color minimum, so you could have crappy, but it's your record that matters. But anyways,
primer, metal, base plastic.
Yep.
3 colors. And just painted on smelly primer. Remember that one? Just on their head, smelly
primer. Yep.
It did smell. I wanted to, before we kind of, because I think we've kind of went all over the place. Xtreme already pointed out that I've been haphazard with this. So I want to try to get back in our lane. Let's talk about green stuff and what we've done or like using that for, because that is a big part of a miniature gamer's arsenal. We all have paint brushes. We all have paints. We all have cutters and a knife, maybe a Dremel here, maybe an airbrush. But at a certain point, everybody has to use green stuff for something. What do you guys use it for? Start with Xtreme.
Almost everything converting wise. I would say if you are inexperienced with green stuff, the first thing I would recommend doing is fur and hair, because it's very easy. So if you can get your conversion gap close to anywhere where there's going to be fur or hair, then you're going to have a lot easier time. Getting like the smooth surfaces or even folds, I think, is something that comes with time.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think fur, to take it a step further, fur in an area that already has fur, because now you're just blending it in. And you don't have to, for me at least, it's like, well, it's not the whole thing. It's just this little kind of part. So in other words, you can almost use what's been done already as your guide of, how to make it look the same. Whereas I see people that do something from scratch, like fur from scratch, then it becomes like, how'd you know where to start? How'd you know what to make it look like? Because, it helps to have something. So even that, but you're right. Those are good places. Have you done like muscles with green stuff?
Yeah, it's more difficult, but if you're working from another muscle, like if you cut an arm and you're trying to like rebuild a bicep or something, it's not that bad. But if you're doing it from nothing, like you're building muscle on top of a skeleton for some reason, I don't know why you would. But if you were, then that would be very difficult. Then you're stepping over.
Gotten so frustrated, we're like, you know what? This guy doesn't go to the gym. I'm sorry. He is going to just be flat arms.
Well, you're coming into pure sculpting at that point, and that's a different skill altogether, I think.
It's a sliding scale, though, of green stuff usage. I saw something the other day online, and it was like, the guy's like, oh, I just green stuffed it. And I'm thinking in my head, my first thought was talent, but then my next thought was, like, wouldn't it get fucked up? Because at a certain point, it's not as stiff, right? Like I'm thinking, he did this whole long cape and like tassels and shit, and it was like in the air. And I'm thinking, how the fuck are you going to get the green stuff to even like hold? You know what I'm saying? Like that is sculpting, but I was almost thinking a practicality standpoint of, man, shouldn't you just glue that down to a thing? Because it's at a certain point, it becomes too. Could you even use it in a game? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to, but I mean, he may have had like a rod in there to work with, so there may be something inside the green stuff.
Or yeah, like a reinforcement. Yeah.
Does it hold? If you were to do that with like scrolls or something hanging off, does it actually hold? As in, it won't break off?
I mean, it'll break, but it'll hold too. If you like reinforce it before and then build off that with your green stuff, it should come.
Okay.
You might lose a corner.
I forgot what it was. Some kind of like fantasy thing. Not even, but it was just. I just was shocked that like you're going to put this on the tabletop to play with. It seems like the first touch of anything. It looks so fragile. I hope I'm wrong.
And it is even using the traditional green stuff, or is it just using that as a placeholder for some other medium he's using?
Oh, good point. Maybe it's not even
like milliput or whatever the other stuff out there is. It might be a little.
Maybe that's what it was. So I think that Xtreme, have you done? Is it usually adding something to a model, or have you ever actually tried to make a model?
I took some classes on like making a model, but I never really got that far. The faces always turned out like crap, so I was always. Did you
make like a halfling Frankenstein monster once, or was that someone else?
It must be somebody else.
Okay. I saw someone that was in like our Blood Bowl kind of traveling circus made one. It looked pretty good. I think they wanted to do halfling to maybe less to work with. I guess is almost the opposite converting big stuff is easier, but maybe sculpting small stuff is easier. I don't know. Valdric, what do you kind of usually use green stuff on?
Again, same stuff, just filling in gaps and fur and making pustules and tentacles and things like that. So for Nurgle
Have you
stuff.
done any kind of like heads and arms or anything, or no?
Have you made a penis? That's what we want to ask. Have you made a penis?
Not and put on a miniature. When you got that extra green stuff left over, you're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Boop, 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 boop.
let's practice.
Practice.
But
Yeah, so which is better for a lubricant? The green, the yellow, or the blue, or the green? The mixture. I don't know.
well, the green's really sticky, so yeah.
There was something I saw the other day, and it's one of those posts that I don't know if it's a troll post or not. The guy says, my first time with green stuff, critiques and criticisms, go ahead. It was all blue. He just thought, here's one side to use.
Yeah.
Here's another side to use. And it was all the blue. And he's like, I'm finding it's not sticking though. And some people were like, are you fucking with us? Now, I don't remember if he ever actually replied because maybe
Why
he
is my
was.
green stuff blue?
Right. That was the first question. This is my first time working with green stuff. What did I do wrong? I'm like, well, it's blue. So it's not even green stuff. You might want to ask yourself. I think he was fucking with people, but it looked, I mean, he ruined a model. Like he took a model and put shit all over it. So it looked like he tried to fill in gaps with the blue part only, and
my first time using the green stuff, I didn't mix it very well, and it was closer to yellow than green. And those models fell apart for years before I knew better.
Yeah. You thought it is green. It's a light shade of green.
Like, did you cut it wrong and use too much yellow? You make it even?
No, I was just messing with it. And I was like, man, it's a lot easier to work with if it's a lighter green. So then I was working with that, and it did hold long enough for me to play, a game or two, and then arms started falling off. And
yeah, I can see that happening.
I also use a lot of plastic putty because green stuff, it's a pain to mix sometimes. And
Like if it's been sitting for a while?
yeah. And so I got this plastic putty, and especially if you want something that's be smooth, you just dab it in there, and then you can, just take a wet brush and smooth it out. And
I like to not do that and just have my fingerprints all over it.
fingerprints all over it, yeah.
Yeah, there's been plenty of times where it's like, this guy's cape is going to have a fingerprint on it, or else I got to figure out how to fucking do this right. Because, yeah, I mean, do you guys wet it too when you're working with it?
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, you have to.
lots of water.
Yeah, because otherwise it just becomes, like clay, you're not really.
My favorite is those self-healing mats that you put down on your hobby space when you forget you had some green stuff smushed there and it's just there permanently.
Yeah.
It's no longer flat. It's all
Or it's on your arm.
Yeah.
So, okay, what is that? Green growth.
I got to file it down. Burns.
Did you guys try? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I started doing all this, I didn't have access to green stuff, but I had access to that plumber's putty, that grayish stuff that dries in like 7 minutes. So I got really good at mixing it, slopping it on there, and it was fur for Vor models. And so I got really fast at it doing the fur because it dried in 7 minutes or 5 minutes even. So
But you realize you don't have that like leftover to tap into because it's already hard.
Mhm.
yeah. So but it was like $3 a tube. So
It's true.
yeah.
I tried that liquid green stuff and I don't get it. I felt like I was on.
It's not for filling gaps.
No.
It's not for anything.
No,
I like it.
Really?
People
What
use it.
do you use it for?
I've seen people use it as a texture to make a cape all ratty. It's like a texture paint almost.
I didn't know anywhere I would use green stuff. I tried it, whether for bases or hair and it was just like I don't get what I'm supposed to do with it. It's not even liquid. Nothing liquid about it. Did I get a bad one?
No, you have to add a lot of the liquid to the liquid green stuff. So I guess its name isn't very useful or accurate. But like every time I open the jar, like I just have water all over the place and mixing it all up. But for like seams where there isn't a gap, but you still see like the seam.
Like a
I'll
line,
use
like a hair seed, like very narrow.
Yeah, I'll use the liquid green stuff to smooth over that. But even I'd get like big globs on my brush just to be able to brush it on once it was all wet. I didn't have to mix the green stuff. It was like pre-mixed green stuff basically once I got
Do you
it.
pour
moist.
water in it with it, or do you make like a separate little thing?
No, I have a separate thing. So like on my paint palette, one of my little things would end up being the green stuff circle.
Okay. Maybe I'll try it again. But I just was like, I thought I got a bad one. It ended up looking like when you have paint that's like 20 years old, and I'm like,
But I think with any hobby stuff though, if you find something that works for you, just stick with that. You don't have to. If liquid green stuff doesn't work for you and you have something else, then do that. Like there's no right way
it's
to do
true.
it.
Well, what I end up doing with regular green stuff, if it's for gap filling, usually I'll put on more than I need and then carve it away later. So it's like, well, I filled in the gap. I wanted to make sure everything was done because I know I'm gonna like just make it clean later, and it'll be, you won't even be able to tell. But for me, it was a way to hold it together better, fill the gap and all that. It was just, I ended up wasting a lot of green stuff.
You always make more than you think you need. Like you'd be like, I'm just gonna use a little bit. And
then I got little fucking little green stuff footballs all around the table.
Yes. In the
I
carpet.
used to make little dinosaur eggs out of my extra stuff. So I had like a whole collection of little dinosaur eggs that I never did anything with.
You use them for bases and scenery.
Yeah.
Works for that. Biran, what have you used green stuff on?
I would say I use it to fill gaps, but that's a lie. I just like to slather on thick globs of paint to fill my gaps. Pro tip. You can do that. I like them for slotted bases. Any older models or metal models that have the slotted base, I find that what I'll do is I'll use green stuff and actually fill in the base and cover the slot at the same time. And then I'll use either some sort of template to make an impression of like cobblestones. I've bought things off Green Stuff World for that.
Yeah.
Those rollers and things like that. Or if I found like one of the textured bases from GW, I'll take a non-textured base and put it with green stuff and just smush it in there, make a copy.
Yeah, nice.
And also to fix problematic joints that just will not stay, I'll just glob it on and make it look ugly, but it will stay.
Well, I will use so much green stuff because there's no way I'm going to pin it.
Right.
It's never going to happen. So it will stay at some point. Even if I use so much green stuff on this arm that I make a green stuff cane below the arm.
To hold it on the ground.
Right. It's like, wow, now he's old and grizzled.
Do you ever use the green stuff on a joint and then break the joint to put the glue in and then reglue it?
Yeah.
Then you have.
I like when the green stuff makes a little cup and it makes it easier for you to repair stuff.
Now the arm broke off, and I'm like, well, I have to glue it this exact same spot because the green stuff made the shoulder part. So I got to make sure I glue the exact. But if I glue the exact, I got to score it again essentially because if I glue it again, it's probably going to fall apart again. So you have to do. It's a weird.
No, you need another layer of green stuff on top of the green stuff.
Right. It's a weird mix of trying to do something the same to look right, but knowing that the same. It's like, what do they call like doing the same results?
Insanity. Yeah.
Insanity. Like it's going to break again. So I should do something different, but I don't want something different because I made it fit perfectly in there. So,
and I don't want to mix up more green stuff because I'll mix up too much and end up with another football.
And then it's another layer of green stuff, another layer of glue, another layer of green stuff, another layer of glue.
But all those green stuff footballs were useful in Blood Bowl until the new kits came out. Now you get like 5 balls with every team.
Yep.
Yeah. Are you complaining about getting too much free stuff from Games Workshop?
No, I'm just saying it takes away the usefulness of all those little green stuff footballs you had laying around.
Okay, so I know you and Games Workshop have had a rough relationship over the years. And free footballs.
I'm just saying it's nice that people have access to footballs and dice because that was, for Blood Bowl, that was one of the hardest things was getting those block dice and getting the football. So
to bring it back around, Mike, would you allow converted dice?
Converted to be all POWs.
So no, I'm going to make dice out of green stuff. It's going to look like orky kind of flesh.
Oh, heavens no.
With my team. Why? Heavens no. Why?
I tested these; they're totally balanced.
Yeah,
Totally.
I did 10,000 rolls at my house. I've got charts and everything. They're fine. You won't let me?
No.
I'd still find a way to lose.
Give you 3 Blood Bowl dice. And let you
Okay.
keep them.
Well, I'm going to put them on display for best painting. So,
Oh, that's fine then, yeah.
not the ones I used in the game. Those are the rules. For me, for them, I would say same as these guys, maybe to a lesser extent. Only really fur, hair, and gap filler. Anytime I've tried more,
You're a bit
than
of a hair maestro, though, aren't you?
since you brought it up, sure. look at that mohawk there.
That's
You know?
good.
It's not bad.
Have you done a guile yet, though? The guile mohawk?
I did for my convicts team. I didn't paint them,
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
For this one, anyone know what this head's from on this Goliath?
No.
I like to say that's Ronnie, but that is from the new plague sprue, one of the heads.
Oh, really?
I'm like, I think it's a beard, but it's so thick that it might be skin. I couldn't tell, so I'm like, I'm making it a fucking beard.
It's a beard now.
The beard now, but for me, easy conversions. Making someone bald is always fucking easy because you Dremel it up, make it smooth. Mohawks are always easy, and fur, like these guys said, it's just very basic. But for me, it's enough to stand out. Like my Goliath gang looks like no other Goliath gang on the planet. Like it never look, and I can help with the theme. Most Goliaths have the bald head and like some kind of mohawk, either like, part of their armor. I could have a story about mine, why they don't, why they rebel. So it looks different. I think that's the best version, the best reason of all to convert.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Necromunda, because half the fun of building Necromunda models is doing them WYSIWYG, and that takes some conversion sometimes.
Well, everything I said about the Blood Bowl stock models, and if you don't like that, times that by 1,000 for Necromunda, because to make those models out of the box is to make them look their best. But I don't want 3 of this weapon. I want 3 of that weapon or whatever. It's going to take some work. And to get them to look good, Goliaths, I'm thankful they're like the orcs of Necromunda. They're chunky. You can fuck up. Who cares? Whatever. But like the Escher and stuff, like I saw some people trying to convert those and like,
Oh, they're spindly.
I applaud them trying it, but like, I get you want to put the dagger like this instead of like this. It's going to look fucked up. I appreciate you trying though, but it's going to look fucked up, not because you fucked it up, but because it's just not made to do that. But I get why. So I think adding your own personal touch does that. If you're new to converting and you've never done it before, start like Biran said. Head swaps are the easiest thing. Also, just try things out. Don't glue stuff right away. Try out, could this piece fit on here? Like, okay, it can, but what about when you turn them around? It's going to look weird. Okay, figure that part out later, because worry about the part. Do you think it's going to look good on the front? Do the front. Maybe it's another piece, or maybe it's green stuff, whatever. I've green stuff muscles on the back of somebody before, not on the front. You know what I mean? Like my conversion messed up their back meat over here. And so
You make your own meat, extra meat.
I added my own meat later on. I'm not going to add front meat. You know what I mean? I can't sculpt a bicep or pecs, but I can sculpt like the rest of your back. That's easy. So sometimes, I guess my point by saying that is sometimes a daunting task isn't as bad as you think with converting, because make it look cool from a distance and worry about the details later, because it's going to look fine. And you don't want to set it's like when you're painting, you don't think your paint job's going to look as good as the magazine. So why do you think your conversions have to be, I guess is my point. Be realistic. Any other tips on the converting side of miniatures you want to throw out there?
I just say it's easier than ever nowadays with places like Shapeways and things like that, and people just selling 3D printed shit on Etsy. Yeah. There's just so many more opportunities to get started in converting.
In a way, easier to have a different looking set of models without really converting it.
Right.
I mean, with little or no work. If they're different heads and different shoulder pads and it's going to make it look way different. Yeah. I mean, money might be an issue because sometimes those things get, like the shipping is more than the bits sometimes. And some of
Yeah,
those
you end up
places,
buying a bunch of extra stuff just because to make the shipping worthwhile.
But there's no other reason. I mean, it's if you stick to the basics, you know, and kind of get better from there and try out shit and be willing to say if it fucks up, oh well, you know, throw some blood on it.
Yep.
Now,
Blood for the blood god fixes everything.
You fucked up the guy's hand. Now he's just got like a club hand. You fucked it up so bad. Guess what? Now he's Club Hand McGee. And he's like the bad
chop off a
bounty.
bolter and stick that on there and say,
right, put the fucking bolter on there. Get a Dremel tool. I've had one for 20 years. The same one I've had forever, rechargeable. I use the cutoff wheel mostly for everything, but I've used the sander and the grinder before. It's just, you know, Biran makes a grinder joke, I'm sure, coming up soon. He's already thinking it. There's some basic tools of the trade, you know. I try, you know, X-Acto knives. When I do converting, I usually don't use really sharp ones because I'm afraid I'm going to try something really crazy and that's when it'll go through. I almost don't want sometimes with converting because I want to just shave something down a little bit. But I mean, it's all like trial and error with converting. See what's worked. Like Xtreme said earlier, if one thing works for you, yeah, keep going with it. Anything else?
It's a Dremel, but it's like this big.
Oh, wow.
And it is for that, because Dremel, you got to plug it in, you gotta, whatever. This thing, it's a lot less powerful.
Well, you don't need it when you're working with plastic.
Yeah, and it's just use the regular phone charger to do, and it is great for most of your basic dremeling needs. It was like $20 on Amazon too, so that was nice.
I like it. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, you made it all the way, thank you. Most people blow their load in the first 15 seconds. So subscribe on the channel, follow on social media at Zlurpcast. Zlurpcast Discussion is a Facebook group. And if you want to get merch, Biran, would you mind showing off that shirt a little bit? So you got some of these, you know, there's a game I heard about called Death Path. It was like #1 on Board Game Geek for a while. It had like 9.999999989. You got some characters on there, and you get that shirt. It's like $23 or so.
Or if you get the premium one.
Oh yeah, what's the difference? Did you figure that out?
It is a little more of an athletic cut, and it's the fabric is soft.
Tighter.
A little bit, but I'm like. Some 2Xs are too big, so this one fits okay.
Okay.
So I would say size up. If you normally would wear an extra large, maybe go to a 2X. If you get the premium, not the standard.
When you go to Zlurpcast.net, you're going to see items you would never fucking buy. So instead, don't focus on the item, focus on the design. Because then when you click on it, you'll see a plethora of other items with the same design. Because you're like, wait a minute, I like the logo. You know, you see, I don't know who is going to be on this time, but you like our little Zlurpcast Zlurpy logo, but I would never put that on a thong. Well, no, find the design. Put the ones with our characters on the thong. You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So click through, buy something. Get a couple of bucks. Biran has gotten a couple. Xtreme, did you get paid from the last one? Did we give you money for the contest?
I think that's the next one.
Oh, the next one after the next.
Yeah, because I think I got the most recent one.
Okay.
And I spent it on a shirt.
Next. As Mr. Miyagi would say, after. That's the one you get.
After.
So, after. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up. We'll see you next time on Zlurpcast TV.
Zlurpcast! Brought to you by McMurdy's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loathing it.